And we'll stand and see the flag salute at 7 p.m. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just for the record, Stacy, we have 2 members in the audience, and was that 3 on Zoom or 4?
6, 7 on Zoom, or 6 on Zoom, yeah.
Oh, 6 on Zoom. Welcome everybody on Zoom. Audience here. All right. We have full board except for Roger Lowell, and I hope he joins us on Zoom. He's supposed to. I'll go for president. Our first line item on tonight's meeting is approving the minutes for September 8th. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I do have one, Jesse. Members present. I think it was Ed Homan that opened the meeting, and Josh and Roger were present, and Zoom was Jesse was present on Zoom. I'm pretty sure I was here.
I apologize.
Well, you're listed in.
That's what triggered me thinking
Awesome. Oh, and we're in the audience. Go ahead. What did you say? Oh, no. Okay. Any other corrections or additions? I have one. Under the complaint for signs. The 5th line down, the upper entrance to town is not First Street and State Street, it's 12th Street and State.
Perfect.
And the rest of the minutes I'm happy with. With that, those corrections, there anybody would like to make a motion to accept them as amended?
This is Ed Minolto. I will make a motion to accept the minutes from the September 8th zoning board meeting as amended.
Seth Herman, I'll second that. Is there any more discussion? Not all those in favor say aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Roger, are you there yet?
Not yet.
Okay, that'll be 4 ayes. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now we're going to get right down into the meat of the meeting. I would just like to share a little bit of history. Our current code, zoning code that's in effect today, was approved October 10th of 2022. And within the year, we realized there's some clarity needing to be defined. And so on September 18th of 23, we started going over. And my opinion is the reason we have been slowed down and not had this taken care of months ago is we had several attorney questions, which we never received answers for. And so we did not get to turn our rough draft to our trustee board until 3 months ago. So having said that, I'd also like we're honored to have our mayor or trustee with us tonight. And would you share with us why we're here tonight, Ed?
Certainly. So back in September 8th of this year, the zoning board took the updates to the zoning code, made the recommendation from the zoning board to the board of trustees of the various updates to the zoning code. So that was back in September. The board of trustees started looking at the zoning code updates. We did wait a little bit until we had our new town attorney fully on board so we can get legal counsel on the zoning code. So after some discussion at our last meeting, which was November, our November meeting was the Board of Trustees made some various recommendations to the zoning code updates, as well as our town attorney had some legal updates, some other items in the code that needed to be addressed or updated. So we discussed those back in the November Board of Trustee meeting, and then put together a rough, we'll say a draft, an updated draft, that we'll look at tonight. So the purpose of it coming back to the zoning code, the zoning board, is so the zoning board could review the recommendations from the Board of Trustees and the town attorney. So tonight won't be a rehash of 22 pages of updates in the zoning code. It'll only be those items that our legal counsel has recommended that we modify, as well as any modifications of the Board of Trustees. So that's the purpose for tonight. So once tonight happens with the zoning board may have some different recommendations, may concur with recommendations. The zoning board will send it back to the Board of Trustees, at which time the Board of Trustees will review the changes again, or recommendations again. And then there will be public notice for public hearing to do a public hearing on the entire zoning code. And then there's certain sequence of notices that have to happen, and we posted in the country times, and we posted it in the post office. It'll be on the website. Then after we have the public hearing, we'll come back after the Board of Trustees hears the public hearing. We'll come back to the Board of Trustees. If there are no changes made, then the Board of Trustees will vote on it. If there are changes made, then we very likely would have to go back to another public hearing. So a lot of us in this room, I'm going to say this openly, a lot of us in this room are used to private business doing things and making things happen right now. And in the government, there are processes, state statutes you got to follow, things that take time, and it can mix funds. And understanding more now why the government is so slow when I ever did it.
Amen to that.
Anyway, that's why we're here. That's not yes.
Thank you, Ed. Right off the bat, I don't know, Hillary, did you check to see if we are actually called the Zoning Board of Adjustments or the Board of Zoning Adjustments?
Oh.
I've seen different prints.
Yeah, I standardized it. Whoa, there's a weird echo. Is that better?
Yes, really.
Okay, so I picked one or the other, and I don't know that it matters. I just wanted us to be consistent.
Yeah, many of our agendas and things in the past have ZBA as abbreviation.
Mhm.
And yet I see in the printing here, oftentimes it's a Board of Zoning Adjustments. I would like for us to be uniform. And
Right.
if you have input to our trustees as to which one label you'd like to have us to be keeping our nose clean, so we're consistent, please. Stacy, are you saying somebody's wanting to talk?
Oh, no, sorry, I was just kidding.
Oh, okay. All right. I've got Stacy watching our board to make sure if somebody in the zoning crowd are wanting to make comments. And also, I wonder, the print that I have is pretty small. Is there a chance of us making the print a little larger for us old folks?
Of the actual zoning code.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can probably fill it up.
The old zoning code is a big enough print. And the way I printed it off is the computer, it's much smaller.
Okay, good.
All right.
My print's pretty low, so.
All right, Ed, you have us on the.
Okay, I'll jump in and kind of. Guess I'll scroll through it and show you the changes. Just be aware the table of contents will be rewritten once the entire code's done. There's no use going back and renumbering stuff until we're done with it. So those page numbers will change as we go. The first section we come into that there's been some changes is definitions. Under definitions. So the first definition that was recommended that we remove is agriculture. And then my understanding is in the zoning code, there is no mention of anything on agriculture. However, I do believe the town has an ordinance that addresses agriculture in town. And it's in an ordinance, not in the zone. Okay, then under simple change under alleys, change the zoning map instead of out of Pitkin zoning map. Direct lighting definition has recommended.
Just a minute, Ed, I
Yes.
just back up
Okay,
to the three definitions: deck, patio, and porch.
okay,
And as written, it says adjoining to a building.
right,
That is true with a deck and a porch. Patios not necessarily have to be attached to a building. They can be out in wide open spaces. So I would like to see patios split out and have it stand alone as a platform with or without a roof.
split out patios with a separate.
Yeah, and under D's have deck and porch with the definition that exists as printed. But then go to the P's and patios listed there also. And it says refer back to decks. My understanding, patios are not the same as a deck and a porch. That it does not have to be attached to a building. And I can show you many places in town that have patios, excuse me, that are not attached.
So the only thing is, I just looked up in the Oxford Dictionary, not to say that I just looked up in the Oxford Dictionary, not that that's our Bible,
Okay,
but it says a paved outdoor area adjoining a house.
amazing. Well,
Can I-
Hillary,
Can I chime in? So the only place this term is used in the substance of the code is in section 17, building permits. And it treats decks, patios, and porches the same and say they all require building permits. So there's really no need to distinguish. They're all treated the same.
Okay. All right, zoning board, are we willing to leave it as printed then and get my input?
I am on the premise that the purpose for tonight is to review the recommendation we received from the Board of Trustees and the town attorney. And I'm pretty certain we had that discussion multiple times for the last 2 years. So based on what Hillary just told us, if it's only addressed on building permits and all three require a building permit, then we're fine to leave.
Anybody else want an input? All right, it stands as printed. All right, Ed, take off, yeah, please.
Any comments on direct lighting and eliminating it? Okay, I'm gonna scroll down. There's a definition of a little more was added to home occupation.
I'm happy as printed.
And then indirect lighting was removed. Part of the reason, just for the audience too, part of the reason some of these definitions were removed from the definitions is they're spelled out or stated differently within the code in particular sections. Junkyard. Don't believe there's actually anything in the code that specifies what junkyards. Lean-to. I'm gonna keep scrolling unless someone says, oh, I got something to say.
Stacy, if you keep an eye on that panel there, please.
You got it.
All right, then down, whatever, page, come on. Page 6, okay. Recreational vehicle, a definition of a recreational vehicle. Temporary structure less than 40 feet in length, it can be towed, hauled, driven, signed with a temporary housing accommodation for recreational, camping, or travel use, including the limited to travel trailers, truck campers, camping trailers, and self-propelled programs.
Comments from the board.
My only comment is, can a a vehicle, can it be more than 40 feet?
Yes, that's one of my comments. Go ahead,
So-
Josh.
So I was just gonna say, there's some RVs that are longer than 40 feet. So are we gonna designate it has to be under 40 feet, or it's just,
Or it has to be under 40 feet.
yeah, it has to be under 40 feet? If somebody has a 50-foot or 60-foot,
That's one of
just asking.
one of the things I question. Herman, you got a comment on that 40-foot length?
I think, can't we just remove the length and just leave the definition as it is?
Ronaldo, you got input?
I'm gonna ask our legal counsel on any ramifications and
You could certainly remove the length. It is used, it's a defined term now because it's being added as a use in the business district. So I would just question whether there's anything that's too big that the town would not want to allow to park within an RV park within a business district. If not, then I don't think you need to limit the length.
The only thing I was gonna say is, it says a class A is usually defined between 26 and 45 feet long. So if we just say under 45. So it could, what was that?
Sure, regardless. I've got an RV that's 53.
It's just a question for me.
My input would be strike less than 40 feet and leave. Leave the rest of the sentence as is. Is that too big a challenge, Hillary or Mayor?
That's certainly fine with me. I would just again say then just be aware there's no limit to the size that can be parked in an RV park within town, and maybe that's fine.
If we do have such a park being built, it'd be up to them to what length they can accommodate or not, I would think. Our lots up here are 25, 125. So, want to be quite restricted. Stacy, we would like to strike that less than 40 feet in length, please.
Yeah, and I'll be making notes so I can make those changes.
I appreciate input from the crowd. All right, you want to go along with the recreational vehicle park?
Recreational vehicle park, commercial use in which a tract of land held under single ownership or unified control provides overnight or short-term sites for the placement of recreational vehicles with and without facilities such as water and electricity for periods not to exceed 14 consecutive days.
Input from the board.
I have two things. One for our legal counsel. What is unified control? What is the definition of that?
Repeat that, please.
It means it's held
What is
in
the
single
definition?
ownership. So the tracks aren't separately owned. So it's a company or a person who owns the whole property that's run as an RV park.
In your second.
The second comment that I have is, I am not a big fan of without facilities. I think if we are going to allow them at all, it has to be with facilities. So strike out without, it's my recommendation.
Well, where it mentions water and electricity, I think it ought to be water, electricity and sewer.
That is correct.
Is that quite easily done, Hillary? And if you want to dry camp.
It
place
is,
it-
but I mean,
I think-
these vehicles have storage tanks, right? So you're gonna require, are you saying you want to require a dump site?
If I were to build an RV parking lot for rent, I would want the town to tell me to make sure all three of those utilities are available. That's my thing.
Understood.
Agreed.
Herman? Ed?
I would not disagree with that.
So let's please add sewer on those utilities.
We do have a hand up on the.
Oh, excuse me.
crew.
Thank you.
Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to speak. I note that the town attorney has made some comments on the side about this RV park situation, suggesting perhaps a limit of the number of units allowed on a RV park. And as discussed earlier about whether or not they have some services or facilities available. And I wonder if this might be an opportunity to identify that an RV park could be allowed through a conditional use permit with the conditional use permit requirements being spelled out, so it perhaps could identify specifically whether or not sewer and water facilities are required, if there were to be certain amenities included, and also to address the number of units permitted per acre. I certainly think that 20 RV units jammed into 1 acre is pretty high density. And I'm not sure that the town really wants to get into that situation of, having a proliferation of RV parks in the community. I'm thinking as the town moves forward and as change has continued to occur and the business environment has improved, there has been some negative impact on the character of the community. And I think residents and visitors alike notice and have concerns about how the character of Pitkin has been changing. So I think if you're going to allow RV parks, that you want to try to set up some reasonable parameters that allow that type of activity to occur, but consistent with what people expect Pitkin to be like in the future, and to respect the history of the town and keeping it as a quaint community rather than a, raging commercial center out of control. So that is my comment, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
And thank you, Pete. One of my comments there might be that we're not concerned about acres in the town of Pitkin. We're concerned about lot size and much smaller areas than acres. And the reason it's in the definitions comes back to section 7, which lists recreational vehicle park, but it also lists everything from lodges to laundromats, etc., schools. So it's a preparation for evolution if it takes place. And we have one concern in town of a possible old park that was started to be created and then it's stagnated. And we're not able to find it in the OWTS permitting. If it was actually RV intended or several small cabins. And at the time it was started, we did not have tiny house provisions. So this is just kind of setting the stage in case something comes up we can deal with. Any other comments from the board?
Comment, I'm gonna try to bring it back. Let's focus on the definition right now. And when we get down to the section under business uses, then we can have more discussion about an RV park, what it is and where it should be, its own business district, so forth. But try to keep things moving and keep this progressing. I'd say let's focus on the definition. And the definition right now, I think the part that's in question is do we leave the definition like it is, or do we take out the without facilities? Or require that it has facilities, water, electricity, and sewer?
I like the sewer added, and I have one more comment before we leave this section. What is my board's feeling on the 14 consecutive days? And the reason I bring that up is I see potential people of an RV park in Pitkin working at one of our 3 businesses, for example, and they're only here 3 months, possibly during peak season. And 14 days isn't a 3-month employment or 4-month. Would that be up to the town, or would that be up to the owner of the RV park?
I don't know that I can answer that.
Well, it's on that employee housing, isn't it?
Get close.
Say,
I think my bad, that's employee housing, isn't it? That's employee housing.
Well, the employer would not necessarily own the park.
or the camping, or the RV.
Yeah. Hillary, do you understand that concern?
I do, and it's completely a policy question. So if you don't want to have that 14-day limit in there, you can put in a different limit. I think the idea of this is to distinguish between something that truly is temporary versus a mobile home park where it's intended for long-term occupancy.
Yes, and the 14-day is consecutive with, like the Pitkin campgrounds, for example. Forestry Service, they have a 14-day limit. So I can understand where that comes from.
I'm in favor of keeping it 14 days. I think it's supposed to be a recreational vehicle park, not a motorhome community. So that's a totally different definition of what we're talking about. I say you leave the term limit in there.
Point well taken.
But I'll also add, we do have camping ordinance that's for people, I mean, for property owners of having campers on their property, not as an RV park, but as their property. And that is a different time. That's 30 days, 30 consecutive days, or 40 days in a 3-month period, I believe is what it is. That's a separate ordinance that addresses that type of camping versus a recreational vehicle. So personally, I'd stay for 14 days. Recreational vehicle.
Fantastic. The only thing we're gonna add to that definition is sewer, and you have that specific. Any comments from the crowd?
Not at this time.
Awesome.
The only thing is too, I think we're talking about
Oh, we have a real life person.
removing without. It's gotta be with that's the other change.
Utilities such as water, electricity, and sewer.
The only other question I had is, are we adding the legal counsel comments to the definition?
I
As
think-
stated in the document?
Hillary, you're okay with just adding sewer to that definition? Yes, no,
Absolutely, yeah, and the notes and the margins are just if you want to consider making it more robust, you don't have to do that.
And then we do have some real life public comments, or in person, I should say. It's all real life.
oh, okay, in person,
Sorry. Jane.
name and address. Just give us your names, sorry.
Starling Barnell. Just a little clarification for me. The 14-day, is it because it's an RV and that's maybe how long the septic in the RV will hold it? And that's the reason why. Is that the reason why it was 14 days? Or if you add sewer, is it gonna be longer than 14 days? That's part one.
My first comment is, a self-contained camper depends on people inside how long the black and gray water tanks hold. And that's not a lot of our problems here. And 14 days just keeps people circulating, and most visitors are here in an RV park for less than 14 days. So it keeps them moving in and out.
Okay, and then for like an employee, like for the Bloom or the hotel or wherever employee around here during the summer months, could there be a different type of permit? Maybe to show their paycheck or something to get a permit saying I'm still here longer than 14 days type of thing. Because some of them really can't afford to live here unless they have something to live in.
So, Jesse, if I may,
Please.
so all we're addressing right now in the zoning code is a recreational vehicle park. A recreational vehicle park that is in commercial district or business district, where someone would have a park that they would rent out spaces to individuals for up to 14 days. When we start looking at areas around town where we have workers staying in an RV, maybe on someone's personal property, that's completely outside of a recreational vehicle park. Correct. When we're talking about a recreational vehicle park, and I was going to address this more when we got down to that section, we're only looking at an RV park that would be on business district. So on Main Street, up to 9th Street to 10th Street on State, 9th and 10th Street are both commercial. That's the only part that's commercial that this RV recreational vehicle park would pertain to.
Thank you, Ed. All right, Ed, there's the advance on.
Oh, we have one more.
Yeah, I was standing up there. I figured I was invisible. So
Who are you?
because it's simply a definition, I'm not understanding why why it's so critical to keep the 14 days in there. Because when you define that in the next section, like when you go to define the different uses of an RV, and when you define the use of an RV in a recreational park, then you could say limited to 14 days, because you do have billionaires that have $2-3 million motor coaches. What if they want to come hang out for 2 months?
So I'll say, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong with this. But when we get down to the business uses or uses in business district, I believe all it states is RV park. So this definition outlines the
Right.
limits of the RV.
What I'm saying, this is what they want to do every summer. They do it all the time in Gunnison. There's hundreds and hundreds of people that come to Gunnison, and that's what they do every summer. They come and stay for 3-6 months, not 6 months, but probably 3 months straight. This is like their summer destination. And what we're saying is the recreational park is not going to be allowed to do that. And I just don't see where that benefits or hurts it, because they're already going to have all the utilities in place to meet the requirements from the state as far as septic, water, and electricity. So now the business owner is kind of getting screwed because he's got somebody coming in wanting to rent a place for 3 months, let's say, and paying a ton of money, whatever they're paying, $1,000-1,200 a month in Gunnison. And that there's also tax revenue for the town that's generated. And now he's limited to 14 days. So now out of a 3-month period, he may have half of that empty because he wasn't allowed to fill that slot for 3 months. So I just don't understand why it's so critical to leave the 14 days in there.
Thank you, Jay. Or do you want to discuss it? If we strike the 14 days, the owner of the RV park could put 10 days or 30 days, whatever he wants to, that owns it. Do we want to control the hours of the hotel, for example? Or the lodge, or the Silver Queen? That's what that 14 days to me says. It's a commercial business.
Yeah, I see the comment that was made, but there's also a flip side to that. So what happens with the person that has an RV? We don't put a time limit in there, and then they just decide to sit there at that property for untold amount of time. So I mean, we're painting a picture of somebody coming into vacation, but the alternative is somebody coming and using that as a living space, and then that becomes a motorhome park, not a recreational vehicle park we're talking about. They're two separate things, in my opinion. So I see the comment that was made and I agree with that, but there's also another comment to the point where people are going to go and use that as a living space. And to me, that's a completely different definition of what we're talking about.
And this is different than me owning 3 lots with water, stuff, electricity, and bringing my RV and parking it there for extended period of time. This is totally different. And I it's hard for me to put limits on a owner of a business. Long as that can only be open from 8 to 2, for example. I mean, I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate, so we be sure and you know, the owner can make it 10 days as far as I'm concerned. Go ahead, so.
Starling Barnell. So is this public land that we're talking about or private land?
No, this is private.
It's private. So public land's the 14 days. The private land, because the person owns property, does that mean they can go to 30 days or 45 days, or are there own rules? Like it's seasonal extended stays, or they can do daily limits, they can do daily rates, monthly rates, or seasonal rates.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna break back up here and expedite this.
We actually have one more
Oh,
online
excuse me.
comment. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, with apologies, I have an additional. Is it okay if I speak?
Yes,
Go ahead,
yeah,
Pete.
go ahead.
We gave you permission.
All right. I heard what Mr. Schellenberg said, and he's got a valid point. But I do believe if you contemplate more permanent residency, that the criteria for the RV park should be more specifically spelled out so that there's not a situation where a number of units gets jammed in for a lengthy period of time, or there's overcrowding or whatever. I mean, I think it needs to be well thought out because, you know, what occurs in one of these RV parks does have an impact on the perception that people will have of the community and how it impacts, you know, the quality of life in the community. So I think it needs to be thought through very carefully.
Yes, thank you, Pete. All right, board members. Leave in 14 days in open.
I'm gonna reserve comment on it only because this has got to come back to the Board of Trustees. I've got to debate it there.
Well, this is a recommendation from us
What
to
direction?
trustees.
What direction? I'd rather hear the input from the zoning
Okay.
before I try to influence it.
Okay, Josh, we know you want the 14 days left in, correct?
Correct.
Herman,
Well, why couldn't we leave the 14-day in normally? But we could under special permit, let somebody seasonally stay there for 3 months.
I'm hearing you. That would be up to the landowner.
That would prevent long-term exposure to the site.
I think that has the same end results as I'm saying to strike the 14 days. So I'm willing to leave it in and let the trustees kick it some more. Is my board with me to leave it in?
Probably would be best if you want to take a vote on it, so it's not it. So when it goes to the board of trustees, if you say it wasn't, it was either unanimous or it's.
Okay. Without a motion, comments from my board. Those in favor of leaving in the 14 days, raise your right hand. Those opposed? 3-1, Stacy. We leave it in. Thank you. Jess is the one that voted against. All right, Mr. Finn, also.
Okay. And keep scrolling. A lot of pages. Or we can stop it. Principal permitted use. Any use that's not listed is prohibited unless determined to be consistent with a listed use provided in subsection C herein. A residential district stayed the same. Business district is where multiple dwelling units and recreational vehicle park is added in. So I'm gonna ask a question. I'm gonna ask a question of our town attorney. And that question is, let's say that someone wants to start a business in business district that is not on this list. What are their options?
The current mechanism for that is to seek under the unlisted uses provision in section C. It's that they seek a designation of a similar use that would allow them to operate in the business district.
That in itself was kind of a lead-in question, but that is why we have the unlisted uses listed as the next item.
Right. And if we're ready to go to C, I have some input.
Well, look at me.
Anybody not ready to go to C? All right, let's progress to C. And my input is how much pressure do we put on one person? And that being our clerk, that's spelled out in this definition. I personally am kind of against one-man boards, one-person boards. Any comments from the board?
Okay, I'm not gonna address it, take the easy way out, because that was my question that I proposed back to our legal counsel.
Oh.
So Hillary, if you would address that, I'd be grateful.
Yeah, so the thinking here is that the town clerk is really the only paid staff person that the town currently has. In other jurisdictions, it would probably be a manager, a community development director. But the idea is to make it an administrative decision versus a decision being made by either the Board of Zoning Adjustment or the Board of Trustees, because those bodies both set policy by legislation. So we want to have some separation where the clerk or whomever is the one making the decision. And then if that decision comes out in such a way that those policy-making bodies aren't satisfied with it, the remedy is to revise the zoning code. So let's say a petition for a similar use comes in, a business district use that is not listed. The town clerk finds that it is a similar use and permission is granted. That's one way it could go. Or the clerk finds it is not a similar use because of the size, scale, characteristics, impacts, and says no. Well, then that business owner, potential business owner, their remedy is to petition the Board of Trustees and the Board of Zoning Adjustment to say, I believe this is similar and I think it should be added to the code. And then the method is legislative and it's added to the code in that manner. Rather than getting sort of special dispensation from these boards, if you're faced with the decision, Board of Zoning Adjustment, for instance, if you're forced to make the decision by a potential business owner that their potential business is or is not a similar use, then you're necessarily clouded by that actual application. And it's a lot harder to make an objective decision. Same for the Board of Trustees. So it's just meant to keep it a little more removed and a little more academic rather than making it about somebody who's seeking an actual permit coming to the actual body that could grant it. Separation of powers idea.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Hillary, and I definitely agree, as long as there's an appeals process so that the plaintiff or the person interested in a business not listed has an appeals process to possibly petition zoning and or trustees. So I just did not read that appeals process in this.
Well, it's not set out. The appeals process would be them saying, I'm not satisfied with this, and coming to the board and saying, hey, I received this determination and I don't agree with it, and I think this should be allowed. And then sort of, it's an implied appeal process so that if you don't like the outcome, you can change it by amending the permitted uses. If you do like the outcome, you stick with it.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. And as long as our clerk can make that party known that if she doesn't rule in favor of them, there is an appeals process. But and I see a hand, Stacey.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Mr. Olson, would you comment, please? Pete, can you hear me? Your hand's up.
Sorry, I didn't have I've got my mic.
Okay.
Sorry.
We're ready.
I think this would be a question you might want to direct to your attorney. And let's suppose the town clerk makes an interpretation that a proposed business is similar to something listed but not specifically listed. And that person begins to develop this new business that is not clearly spelled out. But somebody on the board or of the zoning board or a trustee or a citizen has concern that that really isn't consistent. Seems like to me the horse may be out of the barn. How would that situation be dealt with?
Okay.
So if,
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna ask the question of our attorney. Is that in this particular case, where the town clerk is making the decision, my expectation that the town clerk would be working with our legal counsel on that determination. Because I don't see typically a town clerk looking at the uses and saying, oh yeah, it fits or it doesn't. That's not their typical line of work. So I would presume that the town clerk will be working with our legal counsel through that process. Does that seem reasonable, Hillary?
Oh, I think you're muted.
Uh-oh.
You're deleted. I'll
Thank
make
you.
a comment.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's my expectation that the clerk would certainly have the assistance of legal counsel. Also, the language in C, it does state that the business district uses are by limitation. So unless it's explicitly listed, it's going to require a finding of similar use. And that decision that the town clerk makes in consultation with the attorney would be the final decision.
Thank you. And our panel, one of our safety nets is as soon as something like that's approved, then there are permittings that are required from well to septic to building permits and all those items. That if it did fall through the cracks, there are some backups. I'm ready to go on, please, Knuckle.
Then on page 6, home occupation. My understanding that rest of that definition was struck because it's listed in the definition. Duplication. Then to section 15, signs and advertising devices. This section did change, let's say, significantly from what we previously had. I'll also add that the zoning board did not make any of the recommendations of any of the changes, but all of the recommendations did come from our legal advice on some issues, the way it was presented previously in the zoning code under current state statutes.
And moving right along, right in section 15 for temporary signs is all that's added. That's the only change. And then down on 3, we struck the first comments and leaves it as searchlights, strobe lights, beacons, inflatable signs, and costume characters, except for as otherwise provided. That we struck, to me, makes that much cleaner. So I'm ready to move on with the rest of my board ready. I'd like to go to C now.
Yeah, how about B? Because there was a change. Board of Trustees
Oh, yes.
recommended the height of temporary signs. There was a maximum of 4 feet. The Board of Trustees suggested 6 foot above ground level.
Yes, and that passed our attorney's approval.
Yes.
Thank you.
Then C is number of signs.
My first jump in comment there is I'd like to strike one of those 2 50 square feet signs in the residential district. I think one sign each, the size of a sheet of plywood would be plenty on 3 lots. So I'd like to just read one of those 50 square foot signs instead of 2.
Is there any way to, in my opinion, to strike out signs in residential areas altogether? And just make it a business district thing like most towns are?
It's kind of hard when you have somebody come in roofing, you got a realtor coming in, wanting to post their property and those kinds of things that the signage shows up. Right down to my house having Garrett's written on the front of it, it's not necessarily a sign, but it's a comment.
I'm just not a fan of signs in residential areas. I understand a real estate sign, but other than that, there should be no signs. in a residential area. I mean, a political sign for less than 30 days, but other than that, there should be no reason, in my opinion.
What about me celebrating my wife's birthday?
I'm just, that would be a temporary sign, would it not?
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, there'd be a
And big sign.
regulation for that, but I mean, as far as the way it's written here, we're allowing people to put a sign in a residential area permanently without any time limit. I'm just going on definitions, like if you go to Lake City, which I just visited a little while ago. I know we're full-time residents of 100 people. Lake City's about 300. They are a shining example of what good looks like. And so I just say to the board, I know you guys have all been there, but I just don't think residential signs should exist in a town unless it's a temporary basis.
Armin, got a comment?
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Well, Hillary, I have to come back to you. Can we restrict our residences from making comments on their property?
That's something I would like to ponder before I give you an official answer. I'm reluctant to give you a straight answer right now, just because I want to make sure I'm absolutely current on First Amendment requirements. So can I get back to you?
Yeah. I can't understand why I would want to put up 250 square foot signs in front of my house and leave them there for a long duration. You know, I think just announce my wife's birthday, 150-foot sign ought to accommodate it.
And besides, if you announce it for more than 30 days, you're gonna be in trouble.
Oh, I give her a full year before she advances the next number.
So the only thing I'm gonna say on the residential district part of it, the heartburn that I have with no more than 2 50-foot, 50 square foot sign permitted per property is realistic. Not that it would happen, but it could happen. You could end up with 2 4x8 sheets of plywood in every yard.
Yes. That's the reason I wanted to cut back to one.
I'm totally.
Yes.
So that's the only comment I'm gonna make. I'm not a fan of the 2 per private property. I'm trying to think in my mind some reasons that I would put a sign up on my property for longer than a day or 2, or maybe can't think. Just me.
Well, as speeding right on, as a board, I'll ask you board members to vote with me or against me. I say we leave 150 square foot sign and leave it as printed, but just strike the 2 and it's 150 square feet sign. That's a compromise between Alto and Africa.
Before we say, if there's anybody in the public or on the Zoom that would like to explain why they would want 50-foot sign on their residential property, I'd be open.
Yes, I definitely would entertain that, please.
Oh, we do have a comment.
All
Go
right.
ahead, Ginger.
Who's that top left?
It's Ginger. Hey guys, so I was curious, does it have to be 50 square feet? Could you maybe reduce it to 25? Because like you said, that is really large. And I would think that some of the people with rentals might want to put a sign out of the house, like Lazy Bear has a sign that says Lazy Bear, just helps people kind of locate the home. Now that's not a 50-foot sign. It's definitely not obstructing or looking like a town has, erected the sign. So that was just kind of what I was thinking as far as maybe the residential part, having it a smaller square foot.
Thank you. Any public comment? Tom?
This is Tom Gibb, and I slow things down, but I will make a comment. So my question is, so you've got no more than 2 signs, and you've got a 50 square feet, that would be a maximum. So is it 2 signs of 50 square feet or less? What if they're little signs?
No more than 2 signs of 50 square feet each. I would say that's less.
So I think you should put a maximum in there. Just decide how many signs you want.
Well, because you can have several different political signs of different positions that coming up for vote, for example.
Your sign, nothing over.
Right, none of them over 50. Mr. Schellenberg.
Hey, yeah, this here is probably being discussed because of yours truly, but one of the benefits for a smaller town that's trying to gain some momentum to create some tax revenue through some businesses that have come to the town. You have 2 entrances into town that are not entrances via commercial, and you have people that have never been here. And then you have people that have been coming 20 or 30 years every year, and they're in a mundane routine, and for 20 or 30 years, all they've ever seen is the silver plume. And that's all they would know. They're not going to get on Google and look and see, oh, by chance there's something new in Pitkin. They're just going to go to the plume, and that's it. And that's great for the plume, but it's difficult for the other businesses in town that have spent millions of dollars to try to show up and help the town evolve. So I actually agree. I don't necessarily like signs in residential areas, but it's a necessity until the town, I feel, can gain some momentum. And that's why I put up with it.
Thank you. I'm going to bring back to the board. Yes, back to the board. Are we happy to just strike the 2 and make it 1 sign 50 square foot? We're happy with the 100 square feet, 2 of them on the business district. But all of our discussion has been on the residential side.
The only thing I would say is, it's an idea, maybe the entrances to town, maybe we make an official town of Pitkin sign on town property next to the speed limit signs and allow the businesses to have plaque on each one of those and put one of those on each entrance to the town.
So we actually do have,
Yes,
unfortunately, signs, the businesses are so small. I don't think.
they're panels within the structure. Yeah, so, but yes, that, and it's been up to the business to pay for their plaque that goes on those posts. So in line with this, I want to move right on, and that's the only change I want to, oh, excuse me.
And in reference to those signs, when I opened the Stumbling Moose, I asked to be put on there. I said I'd pay for it. And my name is still not on there. And then the last time I was told that I had to contact the sign company myself and have them make the sign, go pick it up, which I also contacted them to do that with no response. So that's doing me no favors. That'd be 6 years with my name not on the sign.
All right,
Who controls that?
that's, I have no idea. The trustees set that.
No, I mean, back then it was Sarah, and it's, I was gonna get a sign made, and I said I'd pay for it, but nothing else.
And you had the wordings
And the
for it?
last,
And you had the wording?
yeah, last thing was, you have to contact the sign company yourself. And we've done that too, and they've never responded, so.
Thank you.
All I can talk to on that sign is with opening the gallery. He called me and asked me about the sign, and I told him to call the sign company. He said he agreed that he would pay for it. He called him, and I didn't call him at all. Within probably 2 weeks, he had the sign made. So if you contact them with an email, copy me and request the sign. Good. We'll do it.
Is that email straight to Mr. Hefner?
I told Colt to he contacted them and within a couple of weeks, they paid for the sign, had to sign it, and was ready to put it up. He mounted it himself. I took a picture of it before he mounted it, sent it to me, asked me if it was okay. Exact dimensions of the other ones.
Great idea, Jake. All right, that's
Just copy.
third time's the charm. All right. Can we make that one adjustment?
I'm in agreement with that, to move on.
And
So can you take down 2 signs?
yes, change it. No more than 2 signs 50 square feet. No more than 1 sign of 50 square. Got that, Stacy?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Hillary.
No, Hillary's making the changes.
Oh, okay, well, we have to make a recommendation to you trustees next Monday night.
She's making the changes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we got 2 of you in agreement. Thanks, Stacy and Hillary.
We got you.
Stacy. Okay, then section 16 was struck. Numbering change now for demolition, building permits, numbering change.
Now, whoa. I want to go back to section 16, demolition. Do we need to mention in the code about a fee that comes to the town of Pitkin?
I believe, Jesse, when we discussed this in the zoning board back a number of months ago, we elected then not to have a fee for the demolition permit for the town of Pitkin, because there is a fee for the state of Colorado.
Yes, an inspection, asbestos and lead.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that monkey's totally on the state.
It's all,
All right,
we're not involved. All right, then scroll. Section 18, if the numbering change there. Board of zoning adjustments. Exchange from zoning board. We just, I think the board of trustees.
Yeah, we'll
needs
get
to
that straightened out.
Which way we're gonna be calling. Okay. Then section 19, changing numbering for violations. Section 19B, enforcement. Then under 4, there were some changes. With violations. 4, 5. Took the original 4 and split it up. Okay.
slow down just a minute, I have a note on the side here about trying to differentiate.
Okay.
Oh, on appeals back up there in 4, zoning board to make a determination within 10 days. Do we need to mention the appeals process? Okay, maybe. Yeah, we did not mention the board of trustees as being an appeals process behind or above the zoning board. Do we need that comment?
So I'm not sure I'm following. Under appeals. I can figure out what
The
person.
bottom of number 4.
Okay. 4. You've lost. Are you on
Okay, you're on page 17.
page 6? Page 16, under appeals,
Yes, yeah, continue on over to page 17.
okay,
And we are at
oh, right,
number 4.
okay, I got you.
Yeah, 3. And then 4. Within 15 days. I told you are.
So right here, within
Yeah.
15 days of receipt of a written response, the zoning board of adjustment and the person responsible for the violation shall develop a plan of correction. So after the property owner receives a written response, within 15 days to give it to the zoning board.
Yeah.
To develop a plan for correction.
If the victim doesn't agree with the zoning board, we need to mention there's an opportunity for appeals and trustee, or that's just flat understood.
That is not implied, no. The idea is this makes it final. So this is giving the board arguably more authority than maybe they have now. And I would ask you, because why, if it's a sound decision and there is in fact a violation, on what grounds would the Board of Trustees reverse that?
Hey, I'm happy with the way it is and it goes to my board. Fantastic. Now, you got ready for remedies? Yeah?
Yep.
But on number 2, I'm still just concerned that we put a lot of stress on our town clerk.
The only way I see we're gonna take stress off the town clerk is if we hire another administrative person.
Yeah.
For the town.
The other 2 board members, did Roger ever join us?
No,
Okay, thank you. I sure didn't want to leave him out if he had.
totally.
All right, any more comments from the board?
I'm good with the way it's written.
And then right on D. D1.
I have a comment on that one.
All right, shoot.
And this might be something for our legal counsel as well. Is there any way that we can make not exceed $300 and make it a fine that's a monetary fine per day and there's no cap? Because $300 is not a lot of skin in the game. So it should be a monetary, like, daily fee of the code violation, and then there is no cap to that violation.
And my comment was, don't we need to consider each day as a violation? Other places in our zoning code, we mentioned each day as a violation after it's been deemed that it actually is a violation. So in essence, if I find that I'm violating one of our codes and I don't correct it, don't give a plan to zoning board or the trustees, then it starts $300 a day fine, and it just keeps adding 300, 300, 300. And I see no limit to the amount of the fine. So that's the reason I would like it spelled out, or maybe I ought to ask our attorney again. I'm sure glad you're on Zoom. Awesome. Do we need to announce under D1 that this offense, this fine, is each day is considered an offense, or is it a one-time offense?
Oh.
Did we lose Hillary?
Some kind of technical difficulty seems to be going on.
Sure. That's my,
I feel like a few years ago, there was an issue with us putting numbers. I think it was related to Sarah's pay back then, having it in the code, because then if you ever wanted to increase their pay, you had to vote on it. Or maybe even take it to a hearing, or what is that called again when people come talk? I don't know. Anyway, can't you just leave, like there's a fee and they'll have to see our fee schedule, and then just once a year, the Board of Trustees would revise that fee schedule, and that way if you want to increase that $300 to $500, you simply do it by a vote of the board, rather than always having all these numbers in here, because it makes it more difficult to change it in here, correct?
Right. There's two examples that I'll give them. Wait, hopefully Hillary should have joined back in.
Yeah.
One example. Are currently going through with the OWTF ordinance from the state.
Yeah.
Where we had the fee in the ordinance. We had to take the fee out of the ordinance, and we list the fee in the fee schedule as per the state statute. So that is the way that has to work.
Yeah,
So that's similar to participants. Also, and again, I'm waiting for Hillary, because I do know that as we come on board with forest ordinances by the state, wildfire resiliency, energy code, that we will have to implement next year. We will have to put penalties with those too. The Board of Trustees has to define those penalties so that we can put them in the ordinance, not necessarily in the fee schedule. But my question, I was going to ask for the town attorney, was would it seem reasonable that we have similar fees or penalties for the different ordinances to make it easier? I don't know. That's what I'm asking. It's what I thought. All right, Hillary, you back?
I'll agree.
I'm back. Yeah, what did I miss?
Oh, welcome.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that's come up, Hillary, is on penalties under one. It says not to exceed $300 a day for each offense. So do we need to put the penalty in the ordinance, or can the ordinance read to see the fee schedule? Very similar to what the state is required us to do on the OWPS ordinance, where you have to see the fee schedule to see what the penalty,
Right.
what the fee.
Well, the ordinance has to enable the fine, which this does, but then the fee schedule could say, because the language in D is not to exceed $300. So the fine schedule could specify a first offense is 100, a second offense is 200, a third offense is 300. So you can be more specific in the fee schedule, but the ordinance does need to authorize it.
Okay.
And if you don't want to authorize it specifically, it could say that the violation shall be punishable by fines in an amount set by resolution. So yeah, I don't think you need to actually set the limit in the ordinance, but that's preferable probably for certainty.
So on this $300 maximum fine, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate. Let's say that I want to add a porch roof to my house, but for whatever reason, I can't get a permit, and I decide to build it anyway. My maximum fine is $300. It's cheaper for me to just do what I want to do and pay $300.
Well, other places in our codes, we mention penalty being daily. The offense is a daily deal. So the way without each day being classified as an offense, $300 is the max, the way I read number one. And that concerned me with other places. Did you follow that, Hillary?
I did, yeah. So we can definitely specify that it's by day, that each new day of that the offense is remaining is a new violation.
Can't we just have it read punishable fines up to $50 per day for each offense with no cap on monetary fine, something along those lines?
Yeah, the town is gonna be jurisdictionally limited to what a municipal court could fine, which is $2,650, I believe. So I don't think we can say there's no cap because functionally there is, but we don't have to set out what the cap is in here.
Well, it's nice to know that the court system does have a cap, which automatically reverts back to us. But how do we get to that if, way I read number one under the penalties, like Mr. Pitkin also mentioned the roof on his porch that he did not get a permit for, is $300 his maximum fine, as stated here in number one.
Well, the town also has remedies like injunctive relief. So in the case of the unpermitted structure, the town could bring a declaratory judgment action that says, court, please declare, I know this is unlikely, but court, please declare this structure to be unlawful, unauthorized by the zoning code. And then you wouldn't be looking at a dollar remedy, you'd be looking at a remedy of tear the thing down.
As long as we got Hillary backing us, as printed, I have no problem. One of the reasons we started this back in 23, going through this, was for clarity, so lay resident owner could read our code and know what to do.
Should this fine?
I do think the daily fine clarification is a good idea, though. I do think that would be a good change.
Is the fine being imposed after a cease and desist order? Or are you just gonna go out and fine them?
Well, there's a process through here. When a complaint comes and then we find out there's a violation, there's a process. Once if the violation has been confirmed that it's there, then that's when this process starts. Okay, I'm happy to go on. Are you ready, Mr. Pinalco? And the trust.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The invisible star. Go ahead, girl.
So like in your situation, your example, wouldn't it be the fine plus the permit fees? It would be all of it. They're not just gonna get out of the fees by just paying the violation fee.
True.
Actually, the permits where you're working. You said just the fees.
But they would pay the violation plus the permit fees. It wouldn't just be part of it. If they did something they weren't supposed to do, they have to fix it, either tear it down or fix it.
Yeah, there would be, for what Hillary just told us, there'd be ramifications if you just go ahead and do it. And it doesn't meet code, then you have to tear it down and go and build it back. You gotta get the permit and build it back properly, as well as pay the violation penalties.
So. Oh, yes.
So on the penalty fee, are you saying we want to leave it at $300 for each offense? Or do you want to make a recommendation to $50 a day?
If you define offense as a daily deal, I have no problem as printing. But if you don't say each day is an offense, then I would prefer to reword it. That you define what an offense is. Is it daily, weekly, monthly, yearly? How long is that offense? $300 a day is one thing. $300 per violation is another thing. And yeah, I guess Missouri blood and me just needs spelled real straight.
We have a comment.
Always. So if you have a violation and work ceases on the project, how is it a new offense every day? It's not a new offense. It's the same thing. Nothing's changed unless we're progressing.
There's a procedure and, okay, we have a erection offense and it's brought to the attention of the side it is a problem. So if there's a remedy right there, you know, a plan of action, then there are no fines. You're whoever that person is going to get it fixed.
But in your section 1 of D there, in your section 1 of D, if you're talking about a $300 per offense, so if you have an offense and it's deemed an offense, and then you're trying to charge per day for that one offense, then nothing has changed on. That's not up and up.
That offense does not start until it's deemed there is a violation.
That's what I'm saying.
And if there's not an answer to the violation, that's when the penalties start. But everybody's going to know, from the construction people to the board of trustees or whoever had to handle the offense, the violation claim. But let's just say you're building a new home in Pitkin and you didn't take a good foundation. And it's brought to our attention and found in violation of a footer being bad. And if you say, oh, let me get in there and put the rebar or more rebar, whatever the violation is, there's no offense. But if you say, oh no, kiss my tailgate, I'm going on as planned, then the violation is day after day till you fix it.
But it's not a new violation each day if there's not work proceeding on the project, right? That's the question, because you're trying to make it $300 a day, saying that each offense is a new offense each day, when not necessarily is there anything.
That's the reason we're discussing whether or not violation is a daily violation or if it's a one-time shot.
But to say, the way I understand the way you're saying it, to say that each new day it's a new violation and charging per day, it's not the same as $300 for each offense.
That is a correct statement.
Okay. Just trying to clarify. Thank you.
Board member, are we ready to go on?
Yes. Ready to go all the way down to abatement?
Yes, sir, I am. Josh, Ed, you ready?
Yep. Anything in abatement?
I have a comment I'm checking out here. On E1. Do we not have to be certified here? Mailing,
Oh,
just
the
first
mailing.
class? No, we have no confirmation they get problem text or letter if it's just first class. You know, we've been wondering, especially on OWTS and stuff, if they even got notes. So we start sending certified mail.
So I would say that should read. First class return receipt. Yes, ma'am.
Hillary, can you word that more explicitly so that we make sure that the person gets the letter?
Yes, and you saw that it's also posted on the property, right? So it's both.
we're mailing a first class
Mhm.
postage. And we found out in our
Right.
OWTSs in the past, people claim they never did get their letters.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just pointing out that this also requires the property to be posted. So, and I don't think that was a requirement with the OWTS initially. It is now, but just wanted to note that it would be both posting the property and US mail certified return receipt requested.
Board members, you got a comment?
I'm good.
As printed, Josh?
I think we, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's good.
As printed.
Yeah.
You know, you saying something?
I'm good with it as printed. I would make the recommendation to anyone, make sure that it's a return receipt requested when we send it. But it's like Hillary said, it's also posted on the bottom.
Yeah, but
They may not see that on the property for
9 months.
now 6 months before they come back. So it's awesome.
So then our days are listed later, get us in trouble.
I mean, with that argument, I would side that it should be a return receipt requested so that we know that when they get it. But we've also had some cases where we know they didn't get it because they never signed for it.
Correct.
And therefore it's posted on their problem.
I think it's a cheap investment to guarantee they get it. Or we know that they did not get it, so we know whether or not to proceed with the rest of the actions. Is there a first class that has a return of any sort without any payment? Yes. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Ask Stacy, she works with.
Oh, Stacy.
I was gonna say, I think you can put a tracking number on pretty much anything.
For saying first class.
I mean, if I'm mailing it out, I can put a tracking number on anything
And so
for free.
Joe Blow gets that with first class mail letter.
We could follow the tracking just like you track your packages, and then we could see when it was delivered. It would not show like a certified letter shows you who picked it up and when. To track it, you just see that it was delivered. You don't see who picked it up if they
And
picked
you
it up
don't know
any
if anybody read it or so. So I'd
it's
say that
delivered.
the significance of the significance is in 3. Sorry, no, 2. Where it ties the ability to act for the town to abate to within 10 days of the posting of the final warning. So that is not a certainty that the return receipt requested has been picked up or read or anything. It's just providing a certainty for 10 days after the property is posted. If nothing's been done, then the town can go in. And that's what I think you need to look at as to whether you're comfortable with it or not. Do you want to change it so that it's 10 days within delivery of the certified mail? We don't know that people are actually ever going to pick that up. Does that tie the town's hands going forward? Whereas posting the property in 10 days thereafter, that's a pretty concrete test. We know when that has been satisfied.
Yeah. All right, we're ready to leave the abatement as printed. I'm ready for section 20, isn't it?
Yes, 20,
Yes.
just a few.
Yeah.
Strikeouts, zoning map. And then. The changes also. It's not the map's not there, but the map doesn't change.
And Board and Hillary, I have one more comment. And possibly I missed somewhere in the new code. In the old section 24 of the 22 code, addresses complaints. And it addresses who can issue a complaint. And I did not see it in this new 26 proposal as to who can do this.
So the complaints section that you're referring to was taken out because I'm trying to find.
Well, this is something I think happened after we sent it to the trustees.
Yeah, if I could jump in, it's been incorporated within the enforcement section. So section 19E. Well, actually, no, I'm mistaken. I will get back to you. I think I have a better answer. Hold on, let me do a little looking.
Language. Exactly where it's at, because I do remember the discussion that we had was, it was in two different places about who can file a complaint. And we came to the conclusion that if the complaint is made and is found to be valid, it really doesn't matter who makes the complaint. Doesn't matter if it's a property owner, a resident, someone from Timbuktu. If there's a violation in the zoning code, if someone makes that complaint, if it's found that it's either valid or it's not valid, the deal.
Our point back up the road was anonymous, and Joe Blow off the road just like trying to stir a pot. And I thought we made a recommendation to the trustees that it be a property owner or a resident, renter type resident. Strike any person. So I just want to know why we did not put it in this draft that we're going through tonight.
Yeah, and I apologize. I remember having that conversation, and I'm thinking that it's similar to what the mayor said, which is that we're not saying who can complain, we're just saying who can enforce. So anybody can complain, and that complaint would be evaluated for its merits, and if it resulted in something actionable, the town clerk or the board of trustees would initiate an investigation. But we're not limiting who could bring issues to those bodies' attention. It's kind of a fine point, I think, to say anybody complain, but we're not going to bring an enforcement action unless there's merit to it.
Okay, if you trustees are happy, then I'm happy at this point.
I recall having that conversation with the board of trustees. I know I brought it up with Hillary prior, if we can even legally, if we can have an anonymous or say you can't even complaint's valid, it's valid.
Right, and I would say it goes to the credibility of the complaint, who's the one bringing it, and it's investigated, and if it has merit, then actions are taken.
Tom, yeah.
So, this is Tom, are we done?
Almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, this is my final input on this, as it'll go on. It is my opinion that there are two items in your zoning code that you need to recommend to the trustees, delete them. Now, you did not highlight planned development. So I'll talk about that one first. That's right up with your, business and residential. I don't know if you did go there. I spent some time on planned development, and it is my opinion that this will be a confusing issue. Planned developments are generally appreciated by cities that are expanding and pushing their perimeters. And you've all seen them as you come into a big town where things are. Planned developments include lots of green space, walkways, public area. They're kind of parking. And planned developments rely on infrastructure in order to pull this off. And we do not have the infrastructure to support, I would say it all, but I would take qualification on that. We are restricted in many ways by our limitations due to the fact that all residences, all businesses, all anything has their own well and their own septic. These take up space, quite a lot of space, which is why we have a 9,000 square foot, because that's what it takes to get it. And so planned developments typically crowd together and expand the green space by doing so. And it's not realistic here. I think we ought to just get rid of it. I think it's confusing, and most people aren't going to go look it up and see what it is. It's not realistic, and unless we're going to annex something and we got a big developer that wants to put in streets and sidewalks and pathways, and green space is public space. It's either public space or it is held in a conglomerate of the people who own the properties. So I would suggest you recommend getting rid of that. The other thing I would suggest you recommend getting rid of is RV parks. And this is my opinion. Town doesn't want it, and we're not ready for it. Two different areas. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
We have an online comment as well.
Okay, on Zoom, who is it?
Pete,
Mr. Olson.
Yeah, just one comment, in section 23, which there were no changes made to that, but in paragraph B, talking about subdivisions, it says shall include a subdivision plat prepared by a licensed professional. Well, I was a professional student. Does that qualify? Or should it specify professional engineer or land surveyor?
It has to be a
Yes,
professional that's licensed, so that limits it to engineer or surveyor. So I think we've gotten where you want to go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Peter and Hillary. Appreciate both of you. Any other comments from Zoom or the crowd? We're approaching adjournment. Having said that we're approaching adjournment, we have no old business to get with. So I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So before we do that, please saying that probably ought to do motion and a second to take the zoning code as presented tonight, or amended as presented.
Would you put that in form of a motion? Is how you know what we need.
Hopefully Stacy is typing. So this is it. In Alto, I will make a motion and forward to the Board of Trustees the recommendations that were captured tonight from the zoning board to the zoning code updates. If it can.
Having heard that motion, does anybody want to second?
Yeah, Herman, I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any more discussion before we vote? Those in favor of sending this motion to the trustee, or sending this information to the trustees, vote yes.
Aye.
Aye. And aye. Unanimous, 4-0. All right, so be that. Now, I'm still ready to go home.
The chairman, motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Thank you, crowd.
Bye.